2 bowls of oatmeal. Really the same bowl, the same oats, the same spoon, the same milk, poured up to the same little line on the side of the bowl. And the same person eats it. Same chair. Same window. Same gray morning light leaning in across the table. On Tuesday, the sugar in that person's blood barely stirs. A small ripple. A gentle little hill that rises and quietly settles back down. On Thursday, the exact same breakfast sends the sugar in their blood surging up like a creek after a storm, twice as high, and it hangs up there for hours before it drifts back down. Same food, same body, same spoon scraping the same bowl, and the blood does 2 completely different things. So something changed. The question is what? Nothing different went into the mouth. So the difference cannot be hiding in the oatmeal. The difference is in the person who ate it. And whatever it was, it had already been decided before the first bite. The verdict was in before breakfast even began. I find that strange. I want to know what said it. Because if we can track down the thing that decided how this morning's sugar would behave, I think we're going to stumble onto one of the prettiest secrets a living body keeps. A secret about how a warm pile of cells, with no eyes on any clock, somehow knows what time it is. Let's investigate. The first rule of any decent investigation is this: do not trust the obvious suspect. The obvious suspect here is sleep. Somebody slept badly on Thursday, you say, and that's why. Well, maybe. Bad sleep does muddy the whole business, and we will come back to it before we're done. But if we stop there, notice that we have explained absolutely nothing. We've only renamed the mystery. We still have no idea what bad sleep actually did, chemically, physically, to make a harmless bowl of oats behave like a completely different food. So let's not slap the cuffs on the first fellow we pass on the street. Let's keep looking. Here is a better move. Stop measuring the sugar after breakfast. Measure it before. Measure the sugar in the blood in the dark, an hour before the alarm, while the person is dead asleep and hasn't eaten a thing for 8 or 9 hours. You'd expect that number to be low, wouldn't you? No food all night. The fuel tank has been running down for hours toward empty. The sugar in the blood should be sinking. It isn't. In the small hours, somewhere around 4 or 5 in the morning, the sugar in the blood is not falling at all. It is climbing, while the person sleeps. While the mouth stays shut and nothing whatsoever goes in, the blood is quietly getting sweeter, all by itself, in the pitch dark. Stop and sit with how odd that is. Nobody asked for sugar. No meal was eaten. And yet somebody, somewhere inside the body, is pouring fuel into the blood in the dead of night. Who is doing that? And why on earth would a sleeping body want more sugar when it isn't doing anything? The culprit is the liver. The liver is the body's pantry, and its furnace rolled into one. It stores sugar in great coiled bundles, packed away tight, and it can hand that sugar back out into the blood whenever the body calls for fuel. And in those last hours before dawn, quietly, without one single bite of food to tell it to, the liver begins opening the pantry and pushing sugar out into the bloodstream. Think of an old house with a coal furnace down in the basement. Long before anyone in the family is awake, before a single foot touches the cold floor, the night watchman creeps down and starts shoveling coal, building the fire up, so that by the time the household stirs, the house is already warm. The liver is doing exactly that, except with fuel for your muscles and your brain. It is stoking the furnace before you wake, so that you do not open your eyes into an empty tank, cold and useless and unable to move. This early morning climb even has a name. People call it the dawn phenomenon. The body, sensing morning coming the way a farmer senses weather, preloads the blood with fuel for a day that has not yet started. So now, I am suspicious of the morning. Deeply suspicious. Because if the body is already shoving extra sugar into the blood before dawn, then morning sounds like the worst possible time to eat. You are already topped up. Pour a bowl of oats on top of an already rising tide, and surely you get the flood. There's our answer, you might think. Morning is the dangerous hour. Case closed. Let's all go home. Except that is wrong. And the particular way it is wrong is the finest clue we have found yet. Let's run a cleaner experiment. Forget oatmeal. Forget the variables. Take a measured dose of pure sugar, the exact same dose down to the gram, and give it to the same person twice. Once in the morning, soon after waking. Once in the evening. Identical sugar. Identical body. And we sit and watch how quickly the blood sweeps that sugar away. In the morning, the body handles that dose beautifully. The sugar rises, and then the body clears it out of the blood quickly, efficiently, like a well-run kitchen whisking plates off the table the instant they are empty. In the evening now, same dose, same person, same everything. And this time the blood sugar climbs higher, and it sits up there, and it lingers. The kitchen has gone slow. The plates pile up at the tables. The very same sugar that was no trouble at breakfast has become a traffic jam at supper. Feel how strange this is, because it overturns the thing we just decided. The morning body is already carrying extra sugar, preloaded from the liver. It starts from a higher place. And yet it is the morning body that deals with brand new sugar the best. The evening body starts from a lower place and handles it worse. The advantage isn't about how full the tank is. The body's whole skill at managing sugar swings up and down through the day. There is a rhythm to it, a daily tide of ability that rises with the morning and ebbs away toward night. And a rhythm means a clock. Stop right there, because that's the whole case cracking open. Somewhere inside this body there is a timekeeper, something that knows it is morning and tells the kitchen to run fast. Something that knows it is night and lets the kitchen go slack. We have found the footprints of our culprit pressed into the mud. Now we have to find the clock itself. Where would you even put a clock inside a person? You can't wind it. You can't hang it on the wall. And yet here is a fact that should stop you cold. Take almost any living creature and hide it away in a room with no windows, no sunrise, no sunset, no hint at all of whether it is day or night outside. And the body keeps right on cycling. Roughly every 24 hours, on and on, for weeks. Put a person in a cave with no clue about the time, and their sleeping and their waking and their temperature and their hormones keep rolling along on a daily beat, all on their own. The rhythm is not coming in from the outside world. It is built in. It is coming from inside. So there really is a clock, and it is a physical thing made of cells. We can find it. It turns out to be a tiny clump, only about 20,000 cells, tucked deep in the brain, sitting right above the spot where the nerves coming back from your two eyes cross over one another. And that address is not an accident. That is the entire trick. The clock is parked directly on top of the wiring from the eyes, because the one thing this clock wants to know every single day of your life is one simple question: is the sun up? A clock that ticks on its own is a fine thing, but any clock that runs free will drift. Just a little fast or a little slow, and by next week it's wrong, and by next month it's useless. So this clock checks itself every morning against the most dependable signal in the entire world, the rising of the sun. Light comes in through your eyes, runs straight down to that little clump of cells, and resets the clock, sets it true, pulls it back into step with the turning of the planet, every single morning. Picture it. You are asleep. The clock has been running blind all night, counting on its own internal tick. Then light reaches your eyes. Not floodlights, just the dull gray of an early window. And that thin light pours down into that little cluster of cells, and the clock says, in effect, there it is. Morning. Confirmed. And it sets itself to the sun. That is the first piece of the morning machinery. Now for the alarm bell, which is louder and stranger than you would guess. The instant you wake, your body does something dramatic that almost nobody ever feels happening. Within the first half hour after your eyes open, the body releases a great surge of a hormone. It comes from the same chemical family the body reaches for in stress, in alarm, in get up and deal with it moments. And it floods out right at waking, bigger at that moment than at any other time in the whole 24 hours. The biggest single pulse of the day, fired off the second you surface from sleep. And that hormone is a fuel mobilizer. It leans on the liver and says, open the pantry wider. It braces the body. It gets the engine warm and ready to burn. It is, in the plainest possible terms, the starting gun for the day's metabolism. Bang! You're awake. The race is on, whether you wanted to run it or not. Now I have to deal honestly with the headline that brought you here. Because I'm a believer in honesty, even when it costs me a good story. The headline says 90 seconds. 90 seconds after you wake, your blood sugar for the entire day is set. And I have to tell you, the way an honest investigator tells you, even when it spoils the drama, that nature is almost never that punctual. That surge of waking hormone does not all fire off in a minute and a half. It builds across the first 20, 30 minutes after your eyes open. If you are sitting there with a stopwatch waiting for second number 90 to slam a door shut, you are going to be disappointed. The body does not read headlines, and it does not keep a stopwatch. But here is the part that rescues the whole thing, and it's the part worth keeping. The trigger is fast. The decision to fire is made the very instant you wake, and the very instant light strikes your eyes. That is the switch. And the switch flips in seconds. What it sets loose then takes its time to unfold. The way a light switch is instant, but the room still needs a moment to come fully bright. So the headline is plain wrong about the timing, and yet it is pointing dead at something completely real. The opening moments of waking pull the trigger on the entire day's machinery. The number is a fib. The thing underneath it is true. And now we come to the part that I think is the deepest of all. The part where most people stop one room too early. We found the master clock in the brain, so we might say, fine, 1 clock, mystery solved, let's go to lunch. But your body is not run by a single clock on a single wall. Almost every organ you have keeps its own clock. The liver has one, the pancreas, the gland that pours out the hormone that pulls sugar back out of your blood, has one. Your muscles have them. They are scattered all through you in the billions. A clock in very nearly every cell you own. And here is the genuine problem the body must solve fresh every single day. All those clocks have to agree. A whole orchestra of timekeepers, and the instant they fall out of step with one another, you get noise where there should be music. Imagine an orchestra where the strings believe it's the slow second movement, and the brass are blasting away at the grand finale, and the drummer, poor soul, is still playing something from yesterday's concert. That is a body whose clocks have drifted apart. The liver is dumping fuel for a morning that the pancreas is convinced is the dead of night. Sugar pours into the blood, and the gland that's supposed to clear it isn't even at its post. So what holds all these clocks together? The master clock up in the brain is the conductor. And waking, with light flooding the eyes and that great pulse of hormone rolling out through the blood, is the conductor lifting the baton and bringing the whole orchestra in on a single shared beat. That morning signal travels out from the brain to the liver to the pancreas to the muscles, and it says to all of them at once, it is now. It is morning. Everyone, together, on my mark. It is the downbeat that starts the day's symphony in time. But the clocks in your organs are stubborn, and this is the twist I love best. They do not only listen to the conductor in the brain. The clock in your liver also keeps one ear cocked towards something else entirely. It listens to when you eat. Food is its own kind of signal, its own little bell. The brain's clock takes its orders mainly from light. But the body's clocks, down in the gut and the liver, take a strong cue from the timing of your meals. Sit with what that means, because it's the answer to a puzzle people have chased for years. If you eat at a wildly different time than the sun says you should, you are handing your liver one instruction while your brain's clock is shouting the opposite. You're telling the conductor it's midnight while telling the orchestra it's noon. The two halves of you pull apart. And the sugar handling, which only works when the whole federation agrees, falls into disarray. This is the quiet misery of the night shift worker and of the traveler who steps off a long flight into a brand new noon. The brain's clock and the body's clocks are reading two different times off two different signals, and until they fight it out and agree again, the kitchen runs slow at all the wrong hours. So let's go back, finally, and answer the very first question. Why did the same oatmeal do two completely different things on two different mornings? Because on the good morning, the orchestra was in tune. The person woke at a regular hour. Light reached their eyes early. The conductor lifted the baton and brought everyone in together. By the time the oats arrived, the pancreas was wide awake and standing ready. The kitchen was running at its morning best. The day's gift of swift sugar handling was switched fully on. The oats came in, and the body cleared them away like a tidy kitchen clearing empty plates. On the bad morning, the conductor was confused. Maybe they woke in pitch dark, with no light to set the clock straight. Maybe they had been keeping ragged hours, sleeping and eating at random, so the players had quietly drifted out of step over days. The liver had been stoking the furnace right on schedule, but the pancreas never got a clean downbeat. So the oats landed in a body that was not synchronized to receive them, and the sugar surged and lingered and took hours to clear. Not because the food had changed one bit, because of the timing of the body that received it. That is what set your blood sugar all day actually means, once you strip the headline off it. Those first minutes of waking do not reach inside you and pin a single number in place for the next 12 hours. That isn't how any of this works. What they do is set the phase of the conductor. They announce to the whole orchestra what time it is. And that one announcement, made at the moment of waking, governs the rhythm of how you handle every single bite for the rest of the day. The first minutes do not set the level. They set the time. And the time, quietly, sets everything else. Now step all the way back and look at what we have actually uncovered here, because it is far bigger than breakfast. You think of yourself as one thing, one person, one you, opening your eyes in the morning. But underneath, you are a federation. Billions of tiny clocks, ticking away in nearly every cell you possess, each one holding its own private opinion about what time it is. And they do not automatically agree. Left entirely alone, they drift, like 1,000 wristwatches scattered across 1,000 pockets, every one of them running just a hair fast or a hair slow. So every single morning, your body has to hold a vote. It has to decide all over again from scratch what time it is. And the way it settles that vote is so simple it's almost funny. You open your eyes. Light, plain ordinary daylight, the very same light that has been falling on this planet for billions of years, pours in through your eyes and down into that little clump of cells. And the sun casts the deciding ballot. Then the conductor lifts the baton. The starting gun fires. The orchestra comes in together. And the Federation of Clocks agrees for one more day to call it morning at the very same instant. That fragile daily agreement is the whole reason the oatmeal behaves itself. So tomorrow, when you wake and blink at the light coming in through the window, understand what is truly happening in those first quiet seconds. It is not nothing. It is an election. Your entire body, billions of clocks strong, holding its daily vote on what time it is. And the sun, slipping in through your open eyes, is casting the single ballot that decides the day. Here is what I'd love to hear back from you. Tomorrow morning, catch the precise moment the light first reaches your eyes, and tell me whether you can feel your whole quiet federation come to order behind it.